Today we try to theory craft around Glory Maelstrom.
Take a look at who I am now. I'm stronger than ever. And if you ever doubted me, you should know better.
Now, this time I don't want to edit, I don't want to go all crazy with that. I'm just going through the Wikia and I'm gonna try to see which cards work best with Glory Maelstrom, kinda live actually. So yesterday I made a reveal video where I said this card is good, but it has some drawbacks, and why don't we talk about them? So many Aqua Force players got mad at me saying like, oh, this card is broken, why are you being a hater? Like, come on. I know Aqua Force fans are just so passionate about their clan, anything they get, they're super excited about it, and I get that, but we have to see this is a drawback, and then we can maybe build around it. So we have our Glory Maelstrom, which is a good card, but there's drawbacks. So the first thing we have to consider is that tiny pokes are no longer going to be the primary force behind the clan. Because if you only have tiny pokes, those are very easy to guard with one card. Our goal when building around Glory Maelstrom should be to make very, very big swings, because those become unguardable. Essentially, you can only call up to one card from hand to G. So if you swing for 34, that means that if you didn't defensive trigger, you can only guard it with a draw PG or a protect marker. Because, well, there's no card that has more than 20k shield, apart from those which just block anything. So, this means that our goal should always be to make units that hit for 34 or more. However, if your opponent checks a defensive trigger, a lot of things become guardable once again. So we also have to try to play around that. One of the first questions we can ask ourselves is, what triggers will we run? So let's just go through the page again. We're at grade 0, list of Aqua Force cards. This is a card fight fandom. So we have crits and fronts to consider. Of course, we will run 4 heals. At least I think. That's another thing. Maybe Aqua Force becomes just a balls to the wall kind of clan where we play 8 front, 8 crit. But I doubt it. But it's a funny thing to consider nonetheless. So let's just assume for now that we play 4 heal and 4 draw PG. Because remember, this card reaches its maximum value on turn 4. Because you do want to have a Maelstrom in Soul to get the 10,000 power, to then actually swing very big all the time. So maybe some way to live longer is useful. So we do want to max out heals and draw PGs for now. So that leaves us with 8 more triggers places, let's say. So crits versus front. Now one thing we could do is just run both 4-4. But I don't like that. I don't like having to focus on nothing, essentially. You never want to make it to a point where, I didn't really have a theory on why I want to run one over the other, so I'll just run both. That works in the sense that your opponent doesn't really know what you're playing, so they always have to play around both, but then you're also not really going all in on one game plan. So, crits are good in the sense that your opponent will be at higher damage more quickly, so they will not be able to take as much damage later into the game. However, it also makes multiple attacks easier to guard because you're no longer bumping all of them up with a front. So fronts are then great because obviously you will have way more attacks that hit very big or, well, even unguardable. And apart from that, fronts also minimize the effect of defensive triggers on your glory turn, because that's going to be very major. Like, imagine if your opponent guarded early and they're sitting at 3 damage, let's say. You go for your glory turn, you have everything on the field, you swing, and then they check 2 defensives. Then it's basically game over. Everything becomes super easy to guard and glory really doesn't do anything. Obviously, most decks get ruined by 2 defensives in a row, but I think Aqua Force more than any others, because our boss monster actually relies on our opponent not being able to guard. This was also something I think someone criticized me for, like, oh, all Excel clans get cucked by defensives, so that is not an argument. Well, it is still an argument. If Aqua Force gets more cucked by a defensive, that still matters. For example, Great Nature doesn't really care quite as much as Champions of Asia Aqua Force does about defensive. So it's something we need to be designing around, because if that's our major weakness, well, maybe we do have to run the Blep Bomber Dragon. Maybe we do have to run fronts. I don't know, so we'll have to see. So crits versus fronts, I'm really not sure just yet. I think for now, I will go for 6 crit, maybe 2 front, because I believe crits are gonna be scarier because they'll be at higher damage, and then you still have fronts, so people are still gonna have to see one at some point and go, oh damn, I need to be thinking about this as well, and they'll also be second guessing and so forth. Now, you could also swap this if you're like, well, I'll just go hard on the fronts, but since they will see 1 crit at some point, they also have to second guess themselves. I don't know. You can also go 4-4, but I'm really not a fan of 4-4. I think you should be focusing. Now, I know back in the day we also actually ran 6 draws because we needed to see pieces. Now, that is still true, especially because Axel 2 doesn't mesh that well with Glory Maelstrom. You really still want to be hitting those big power numbers, because remember, that is actually the way we're gonna win. If you can get multiple attacks above 34, you will practically auto-win at some point because people just run out of PGs. So I don't quite like Axel 2 for this specific reason. Now, sometimes we'll just be forced. If we don't have any pieces, like, okay, it's slightly less power, or die because we can't play. So I think generally maybe some matchups will change. We'll try to go for the Axel 1, and then if we're completely starved for pieces, we'll go for Axel 2. Now that brings us, do we still draw trigger? I don't think so. Sure, pieces are fun and stuff, but like losing our aggression is our biggest fear, I would say. So, for now, I think I'll be going 8 crit, 4 draw PG, 4 heal, maybe put 2 fronts in there. Then for grade 1s, we have quite some cards to go through. We have Dorothea still. I don't think we'll run that at all. Let's be real. Like, no. Imelda, the perfect guard. Again, if we at one point get rid of the draw PGs to run even more crits and fronts, we could run that if we see, oh, our grade 1s aren't that great. But I don't really think so. Neferli. I don't really know cards by heart anymore, name-wise. I don't think this is gonna be worth it. Let's be real. Partenia. Oh, this one. Well, it's still the promo that we didn't get yet. This is an issue Grand Blue has as well. Samurai Spirit is a very strong card, but where is it? I don't know. So I'm not even going to consider the option. We had the same thing. Another Aqua Force promo was released in Japan, and people were like, oh, this really helps us. I'm like, yeah, if we got it, but we didn't yet. Maybe the sneak preview promo is one of the promos we didn't get yet, but so for now I won't consider them. Then Viviana, oh, the boy. Yeah, okay, so I saw people in certain groups saying this could be handy because we're gonna be hitting either way, and I kind of agree. But the issue is she only replaces herself. And I don't know, it forces your waves into a bit less ideal setups that I'm not sure I quite like. Because now that we're going away from the multi-attacking pokes to bigger swings, we'll still multi-attack obviously because we're Excel, but we won't focus on the multi-attack quite as much anymore. I'm not sure if I'm liking Viviana. I don't know. Again, like we'll see. Now, one thing that's interesting is we still have the Blue Wings. As I said yesterday, I don't know if Blue Wing will be a separate thing or we'll end up throwing it in a Glory Maelstrom deck. We still have quite some cards to be revealed, by the way, so I could actually remake this video in a couple of weeks when we know it all, but I really want to get this out there. People were, for some reason, thinking that I hated Glory Maelstrom. I don't. Like, I think it's a good card, but there's just things we have to be designing around. We can't just plop it into old Aqua Force and go, we're done. So, Blue Wings, I'm not sure. For now, I wouldn't run them in Glory unless the cards we get are better. Can somehow, like, ensure that we get value from these. Because so far, they don't really have that much impact by themselves. So, same thing for, like, this. Like, heal triggers become stands, but they don't hit that big. Unless you have, like, this final skill where you have all the Blue Wings, but then you need to run many, which means you don't have room for some of the stronger stuff we got. Don't forget we got the Grade 2, the new, what was it called? Coral Assault? Yeah, that one is really strong, especially with Glory. Like, this will be the star of the deck because he hits so goddamn big. Like, it's a 9k, right? So plus 15 makes him 24, plus the 10 from Glory makes him 34. So him by himself is only guardable with a PG. That is nuts. So I'm sorry I kind of skipped to grade 2s, but I just wanted to talk about this. Like, this is going to be the MVP. What's interesting is at the end of your turn, you can put him into soul and draw a card, but I don't think we want to. Like, unless we're going up against a deck that can actually snipe him with some retire or is going to heavily attack him, I don't think I ever want to lose him. Unless I have another one in hand. Like, remember, this card plus the Maelstrom plus automatically is only stopped by PGs or if there's a defensive trigger. So once again, if we somehow have like a front, then he can get around a defensive trigger, or if we bleb the defensive trigger away, okay. But so by himself, him and Glory will make unguardable apart from PG. So that is pretty major, so he's going to be very important, which means we have less blue wing names, meaning various blue wing cards will turn off. So I don't think blue wing with Glory will be the way to go, unless we get some really, really busted other blue wing cards. So moving back to grade 1 for a second. Calm Assault, when you're doing no. Unless we have too much soul, but I doubt it. Remember, we have the new grade 1 that searches an Algos, which will cost a soul early on in the game. There's others. Maybe we'll have soul for this card. I don't know, because one thing we also considered, let's go back to grade 2s quickly, we have our boy Tidal Assault. And the first thing, it's actually pretty funny, in a group someone went, oh, we can cut Tidal Assault, but this was before Glory was revealed, so he was like, oh, we're just gonna go for numbers and not Tidal. And back then there wasn't really a good argument for that, like Tidal was still a really strong restander, but now that we see Glory, we're like, well, big numbers will be king, maybe we will cut Tidal Assault, which is insane. But so since Tidal, if we cut him, will no longer be using up soul, maybe the grade 1 to push up numbers will become useful. I don't know. Does 5k hit any important number? I would have to run some crunchy stuff. Yeah. Excel 34. Oh, also interesting thing is Coral Assault doesn't have to be on an Excel circle. 9 plus 15 makes him 24, plus Maelstrom makes him 34, so he doesn't need to be on an Excel circle to hit the threshold, unless you want to make it so a defensive trigger doesn't even stop him. Now, what you could also do is go for Excel 2 with Coral on it, and then you don't need the Maelstrom boost if you have a Calm Assault already. So like it'll depend on our soul cost. Oh, but this is 3rd or 4th, and Coral is... Oh, but yeah, you have to have rested units for him. So oh, that should actually work. So Calm Assault plus Coral on XL2 and your opponent not hitting defensives will make unguardable unless PG. So I think if we don't find anything better for the slot, then this may become actually good. That's interesting. We'll have to see. So then we have Influent Dagger. I'm not quite sure about this card anymore. In Premium, he's fun because you still do the big pokes, especially with Alexandros, and then he's like a piece that can be in the front row. But in Standard, the +3, like you have to have quite the amount of battles before he hits that actually good Maelstrom number. He would have to go +12 is 19, 29, that's not enough. So +15, 22, plus... Okay, so against Protect and Excel, if he attacks and it is the 5th... Oh no, it only starts counting after 3, right. No, fuck this card. I shouldn't be swearing, but no, I don't think he will be very useful just yet, especially because we're losing the poking and we're going for bigger, more important swings. So I don't know about that. This card is still a staple, I think, because he's on-demand counter charge, and Glory will be using counter charge. So one of the strategies people will try to use is damage denying us. So they will swing at our very valuable pieces. We still don't have major amounts of draw to really recoup pieces and set up pieces. So non-retire clans will start swinging at them, deny us the damage to Glory next turn again, and also take away our pieces. So I think light signals will really make it so you just activated Glory skill, you did your reset, like you did all your swings and so forth, and then light signals will give you one counter blast back so that for next turn you're still set up. So then your opponent is like, well, I could be swinging at rears, but he still has that CB anyway. Apart from that, Aqua Force's grade 1s in standard have always been utter shite, I would say. Not all of them, but mostly compared to what other clans got. So apart from light signals, I think light signals is the best grade 1. Do I dare to say that? I would say so. So for now, I would definitely keep on running him. Spear Array, oh yeah, I remember this one. So it's damage denies, and the crazy thing is that, remember, your opponent can't guard a 34k with anything but draw PGs and protect markers, and then Spear Ray turns off those draw PGs on top of that. So that is pretty nuts. However, 7 battles, and if we're getting rid of quite some of the pokers, that's not gonna be all that amazing, I would say. Especially if we're getting to a late stage in the game where hitting 7 battles is actually easy, where we want to do that, where we don't actually sacrifice too much for it. I feel like people's draw PGs will have mostly run out. So I'm not sure how strong this will really be. I can see it working, but 7 battles is a lot. Like, you'll need some Excel circles, or you'll have to go crazy with like an Algos and maybe a title. Like, I don't know about that. We'll have to see. It's a fun cheese combo, but I don't think it's gonna be as worth it. Now we have Eugen. No, I don't think so. Nicholas. Oh yeah, the Searcher, right? Yeah, so I think we'll run this purely because if we ride it on grade 1 and then we find our Algos, that's like a cool little high roll, which then sets us up to push in quite a bit more damage early. And remember, if we push damage early, they have to guard early, which first of all diminishes hand, and if they don't guard early, they are at higher damage, so that Glory is more likely to be like a strong one-shot. So I do think we'll run Nicolos with Algos, unless we see even more nutty cards that really make Glory even stronger. So yes, I think we'll run this, but I'm not quite sure if it's quite as good. Like, I can see Glory surviving the next wave. So like next wave we get some stuff, but we'll still run Glory because it's like a strong thing. But I don't think this would survive if we get like one more wave. I don't know. It's good, but I don't think it's all that practical. You're looking for a 4-off in your deck, so you will sometimes miss it. Sure, it'll go to 11, which is then a good boost number to hit Glory numbers more easily. But we're piece reliant, so will we be able to fill field like that while boosting? I don't know. Stelios. Yeah, no. This doesn't hit any breaking points, right? Boosting a 9 with a 9 forms 18. What if the 9 goes plus 4, 22? This could hit numbers against protect, because one of our boys gets plus 5 and goes to 4. I don't know. Nah. Let's just not. It's not enough shield. We're gonna run pretty high grade trees already because Riptide hits good numbers with Glory. I don't think so. I do like Tio, however. Remember that people will try to guard early, and then we go into our Glory, and then they will try to take damage to hit defensives to be able to guard our bigger swings. But then taking that damage gives us another boost on a big thing, kind of nullifying that trigger in the first place. But I don't know if we'll have room. Like, we're gonna go for our light signal. And then we're gonna go for Nicolos, and then we'll maybe go for Calm Assault, and then this, I don't know. We'll probably have some more cards to go through, and then we have Dignadern. It is a forward battle or this turn or more, you may return this to your hand. So here's my issue with this card. We will likely put Coral on an Excel circle to ensure that he hits numbers that are unguardable, let's say. Especially with Calm Assault, because then he doesn't even need the Maelstrom boost to get to unguardable apart from draw PG. So since our forward battle is then on an Excel circle, it can no longer boost. And since we're getting rid of poke guys, like basically getting rid of Tidal, likely at least, maybe we won't, but I think it's pretty likely that we cut Tidal, then this card can no longer reliably boost on Fort Battle. So I don't think this one will make the cut, unless of course someone makes some insane new Aqua Force build. What is really interesting, I do have to say this, so far in Standard, I have never had to put a single thought into deck building. Maybe, okay, a little, you know, let's not be ridiculous, but mostly decks completely built themselves. It's been very, very linear, very, very easy. Like, things were figured out like this. I feel like this time, with Glory, we finally have to put some thought into, how will these things go together? Like, Glory Maelstrom is a pretty high ceiling card. You really have to build around it, but then it can scale really well. So, like, I do appreciate that. I do think this is a good thing for Standard. So then we have Great Deuce. So Coral Assault, that's a 4-off. I'm not even gonna argue about this. This card is absolutely insane. I love it. It is piece reliant in the sense that you have to have resting units. So if you're going up against something like Shadows, who will start sniping off rear guards and then swings at you, you have to guard a bit, and now you have to get your field filled to even have Coral Assault go off at all. That's going to be tough. So that is one thing to consider. Kagero also is a big deck right now and retires as well. So we'll have to see how we play around that. But overall, I think Coral Assault is like an instant 4-off. This card is made for Glory, I would say. Made for Glory and made for Glory Maelstrom. So we have our Restless Tide Algos. If we're going to run Nikolos, and then we also run this, we maybe have a stronger early game. We already had a stronger early game. It's just that we didn't have anything to scale to. So now we'll keep that strong early game, let's say, and then we scale to the stronger Glory. I think that's worth it, unless there are enough Grade 2s that hit so gigantic that are more worth it in that sense. But I don't think so. I think this card... I don't know, I think this card is worth it. Especially because the Soul Blast cost is only when it's on V. Meaning we won't use a lot of Soul. Meaning we may actually run Column Assault. I really like this card. Like, I hadn't really considered how good it could be, but he could really fix numbers for us so that we can actually reliably make Glory unguardable. Shimeon, that's another blue wing once again. Really. And if you have no other units with blue wing, it loses power. I'm really just not a big fan of blue wing. Like, people saw these cards and were going, oh wow, Aqua Force a new direction, and I was like, oh no, we're gonna waste so much space on cards I don't want. But so overall, unless we start getting some really crazy stuff in our final slots for blue wing, I'm not sure if it's worth it at all. Shotgun Assault. Whew, that's been a while. I don't think... +8 though. It goes to 17. And then Calm Assault puts it +5. Oh, but it's Assault. I don't think we'll run this. No. Then again, if it's on XL2, plus its own 8, plus the 10 from Maelstrom, then he does become unguardable apart from Draw PG. But if he were on XL1, that would be the case as well. So this card is like, oh, I'm gonna run this for if shit is going bad, and then he'll become fine, but if shit is going good, he'll still be fine. I'm not sure if that's worth it at all. Like, we're already using Coral as a 4-off, Algos as a 4-off, because we need Algos as a 4-off if we want to run Nikolos at all. So that's probably not worth it. Basil, our boy. This will be worth it, I think. Because 19 plus the 10 from Maelstrom plus the 5 from Calm hits unblockable. Put it on Excel Circle plus its own power plus the power from Excel and Maelstrom, he hits unblockable again. So that could be interesting. I'm just not sure if it's worth it. It's also a counterblast, so then we really rely on Light Signal. But remember that if we retire Light Signal to countercharge, then we lose one more rested unit, so maybe Coral Assault doesn't hit its numbers anymore. That's another thing to consider, so I'm not quite sure. But it's something in my mind. I think the goal for Glory has to be that our cards become unguardable apart from Draw PG. I've probably said this quite a few times already this video, but that's going to be really, really key. So Basil is in the back of my mind, but the counterblast cost is like, I'm not quite sure. Algos already uses, Glory uses. We'll see. Halpelos. Okay, so no. First of all, once again, it's a V promo, so we don't have it unless we get it from the sneak preview or something. The fact that you have to retire him makes him worse against for Coral, because you need resting units to make Coral big so that he's unblockable. And giving your Vanguard power is cool and all, but the Vanguard is like the prime PG target, I would say. And then the attack needs to hit to draw, but you're already turning off Coral, and then I don't know. I think Coral already replaces himself enough, and again, it's a promo, so we don't actually really have to consider until we know that we actually get him. Lazarus. Ah, my boy. So the thing is, he becomes 12 for free, which means he will easily become unblockable against Excel and Protect. But against Force, he doesn't. So the question is, do we think that there will be so much Excel and Protect that he is better than Basil? Basil, who does hit unblockable very easily on Force, but costs a counterblast. So I think that will be like a meta call. If you think that you will have CB and that you will see a lot of Force, Basil will be the call, and then otherwise it's going to be Lazarus. Unless, of course, we stick with other cards altogether. So Tile Assault we already discussed, and then Trident Shooter. The Exchange Boy. Okay, so I don't think he will be it. Pretty clearly, he costs a counterblast, he exchanges, which is fine and all, but your Glory Maelstrom boosts the front row, and it's not a continuous as far as I'm aware. That'd be nuts. Let's see, it doesn't continuously add that. Nah, it's just a one shot boost, so Trident Shooter is not the way to go. As I said, we're moving away from the tiny pokes and we're going for the big badass swings that are unblockable. Okay, so that means our grade 2 lineup is somewhat solved, right? We would go for 4 Coral, 4 Algos, and then 3-ish either Lazarus or Basil. But of course, we still have cards that are going to be revealed, so that can still change. Those are just my first thoughts when trying to theory craft. The goal is unblockable. Then we get to grade 3s. I think this one is going to be pretty easy. Like, we have to run 4 Glory if we want to reliably get him off, and we're making a Glory build, right? So that's already set in stone. We also still want some Maelstrom. Now, this is something I thought of and was also discussed quite a bit. Some people were going, oh, we can just run 4 Glory and no other Maelstroms. And that is true, but the issue is then you're banking on getting 2 specific Glories in hand and going, right Glory, do all the stuff, right Glory again, do all the stuff, if you want the second skill. But I assume we do value the second skill. First of all, on something like a Coral, it makes it so we can get around defensive triggers if we're on an Excel, which is going to be major. And if we are just not on Coral Assault, we will still be able to make things unguardable, and I think that's going to be way too important. So like, if you want a second skill, you want to reliably get Maelstrom in Soul, I think we will have to play maybe 2 of this. We don't have to max it out, because I don't think we will need to, but like if we run 2 extra, the chance that we go Glory or this Glory is at least more decent than only being able to go Glory. Now, what we can also do is actually maxing them out. So we really reliably are going to go a Maelstrom over a Maelstrom. The big fear is that we are going Glory and then ride Blue Storm Dragon Maelstrom. We don't want to be doing that. So that's why I'm not a big fan of 4-4. I don't know. That is just something that we literally have to test. You have to make the deck with 4 of this and 4 of the other, shuffle, and just play a couple games and see how reliably you really get your cards. And with a couple games, I mean like 50. Like, you want to see how reliably do I actually hit these, so you can figure out whether you want 1 of this or 4 of this or 3 or 2. But I don't think cutting entirely is going to be the answer, unless, of course, we are totally fine with only having the first skill. But I'm personally not. Sure, Axel 1 plus Coral already hits unguardable without him. Wait, it does, right? 24 and another 10 from the Excel. Yes, it does. Whew. But still, that's not enough. That's not safe enough. It gets ruined by a trigger. It gets ruined by a draw PG, and everything else is easy to guard. Like, let's not really. Now, the final grade 3s, if we run more than just the Maelstroms, will depend. I don't think it will be this. Then again, wait, it goes to 17. It does go to unblockable. Funnily enough, this card with an Excel circle and the Glory skill does go unblockable, but lots of things do. And again, grade 3 spots are quite tight, so I don't think that's really worth it. But again, we want to consider every card just for a second. Maybe we find some magic, you never know, though the card pool is very small. When your Vanguard attacks that unit and this unit gets power plus 5k, once again, this actually works together with it. But again, it's a grade 3. If this was on a grade 2, that'd be major. That'd be so good for Glory. Naval Gazer. I'm not sure really. Sure, you can do some big plays with Coral, which is actually an idea of Andrew, so shout out to you for that. I hadn't really considered it, but I'm not sure if that's going to be worth it really. I don't think so. Riptide. Now, Riptide is obviously the elephant, or well, the dragon in the room, in the sense that he hits big. Instantly, he is unblockable. Just done. He's instantly unblockable. You don't even need the boost from Glory. But he doesn't have a circle. So, Riptide has always been this annoying card in the sense that you really need him. But having to ride him is the worst thing ever, and auto loses you the game generally. We could still run this. And he's basically only competing with his little brother, Bleb Bomber. I feel like these cards are brothers. Riptide makes big numbers that actually don't even care about defensives once boosted by Glory. But Bleb makes big numbers hit even when defensives are at play. So the question is, do you want to play Riptide, who will always be good? Riptide will always be good. He will always hit big and be hard to guard. No matter if defensives come, Glory still pushes him over the edge. Whereas Bleb is only good when a defensive hits, but is good across the whole turn. Because he actually basically buffs your entire front row in the sense that none of them get targeted by a defensive, whereas Riptide only gets around the one defensive by himself. So the question really becomes, do you want a card that is great all the time but by himself? Or do you want a card that is great sometimes but for your entire front row? I really think that's only something that can be tested. I'm currently still leaning towards Riptide, to be honest, because Standard relies a bit more on variance. And I feel like getting consistency is going to be more powerful than getting the high roll of Bleb. Because also remember, if you see Bleb really late, defensives maybe aren't even relevant anymore. Maybe they're already at 4 or 5. Then this card is dead, unless they 6 damage heal, but come on now. So I'm still leaning towards Riptide for now, but that's something that will really have to be tested. So, that puts us towards our list. What is the first list I would really put my teeth into, let's say? I'd say we go for 4 Glory, 2 Blue Storm Dragon Maelstrom, 2 Riptide, 4 Algos, 4 Coral, 3 Lazarus, just to start, but we'll probably move toward Basil if we see that we don't have any counterblast issues whatsoever, 4 Light Signals Penguin Soldier, 4 Calm Assault, I need 2 more great ones, 4 of, what the hell man, I'm telling you, most of these are so bad. Most grade ones of Aqua Force really aren't that great. I really don't know. I would say the rest is flex slot. We could go for Teo, I guess. So we have light signals, we have Nicholas, 4 Calm Assault, and 3 Theo. Then 8 crit, 4 draw, 4 heal. That is the list that I would make to maximize the power of Glory. Now, obviously, as we start really testing, perhaps with even more cards, this can still change. But that's the first thoughts I would say, because Glory is a strong card. No one says Glory is a bad card. But there are certain weaknesses that we have to build for. And when we build for them, I think this card will be solid. Now, some people were saying in comments like, oh, this is the savior of Aqua Force, is broken, this tier 0, this... I don't know about that, but it is strong. We'll have to see how it pans out. That is all for today. Hope you found this interesting. If you did, please subscribe to the Solemn Vanguard channel and click bell to stay up to date. Like the video if you liked the video, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I will see you soon. Ciao.